Why are you in Bluffdale now?
Well, that's easy. I started my business in 1999 and I was living in downtown Salt Lake at the American Towers. And for me, I loved downtown and I was 23 and I had this idealistic vision that I was going to live and work in downtown and that I kind of wanted this work-life balance where I lived and worked in the same place. And then we opened our first storefront in 2001 on 200 South and 200 West in the First Commerce Center building. And we had double-digit growth our first 7 years, and we were even one of Mountain West Ventures' fastest 100 growing companies in Utah for 5 years in a row. And in 2008, we moved to the Gateway. And I had signed my lease before the recession in 2008. And we ended up moving in a little later in the year of that year, and it was a little bit of a trying time to move this business to a new location with all that was going on then. But I loved the Gateway at the time. It was Utah's outdoor premier shopping destination and upscale, luxurious. We didn't have, Farmington Station, we didn't have City Creek or any of these, individualized shopping centers that we do in the suburbs now. So downtown was a destination. 2001 until 2016, I lived and or worked in downtown, and for several of those years I lived and worked downtown. We were really involved. We would do a lot of things for the road home shelter. I remember one time we made like 200 sandwiches and sack lunches and took them to the road home. I just really wanted my daughter to grow up feeling comfortable in the city and feeling comfortable with all different walks of life and having kind of those experiences that, the traditional, I don't think at that point in time kids got growing up in the suburbs. So I was really comfortable. I was involved in a church organization downtown, and we worked with a lot of the people at the road home, and we had a rapport. It wasn't, I think you had a lot more mental illness or disabled veterans or that made up more of the homeless population at the road home. And people that you really could understand their stories and kind of how they got there. But what didn't exist was this criminal element. I never remembered feeling scared or threatened. And so around 2014, 2015, I started noticing some changes. And I remember thinking, like, does the mayor see what I see? Do the city council members see what I'm seeing from my desk and basically my office every day? And I was like, I'm seeing some issues that I haven't dealt with before. Like, we just had a smash and grab and somebody smashed our front window and stole our Macintosh computer at the time. That was our receptionist desktop computer. And my staff had commented to me that when they would park their cars to come into work, that sometimes they would accidentally witness a drug deal, and they would have people come up behind them while they were waiting to cross the street at the crosswalk and say things in their ear behind them, like, you didn't see anything, and call them names. And so my staff was starting to tell me, are there other parking options? I don't want to have to pay to park in the covered parking at the Gateway, but I'm not feeling really safe. And just some things like this I'd never heard of. We had been in business for, 14, 15 years at that point, all downtown within a few blocks of the Gateway, and had never run across things like this. And so I was speaking to, my friend that was in the real estate business and telling him some of my issues, and he said, "You need to meet Scott Howell." And he said there's an organization called the Pioneer Park Coalition, and it's relatively new, but they're kind of working on some issues for downtown, for residents and business owners like yourself that are experiencing some of this. So he put me in touch with Scott Howell. Scott came to visit me at my location at the Gateway, and he was just kind of a godsend because I, at the time, was single, and so single mom, business owner. And I remember just going, I don't even know who to reach out to with some of these issues. Do I call my city councilman? Do I call the police? Who do I even get a hold of at the mayor's office? And I was just like burning the candle at both ends between raising my daughter and running my business, and let alone wanting to use my spare time to investigate who I talk to and how I remedy some of these issues that I was experiencing. So I talked to Scott. He told me about the Pioneer Park Coalition, and it sounded like something that I wanted to know more about. Selfishly, at the time, I can say, this was like 2015, and I knew that my lease was coming up in the next year and a half. And so selfishly, I kind of wanted to understand what the short-term, mid-term, mid-range, and long-term prognosis was for downtown. Was this just a temporary blip on the radar, and could things, resume to normal, or were these things that I were going to be facing for a long time? I started meeting other like-minded individuals that were encountering the same things, and I just truly became immersed in trying to help find a solution to this, and empathetic to what everyone was going through. But the thing that I was most impressed with is it wasn't just a one-sided nonprofit organization with an agenda that they were trying to ramrod through. The people that were a part of the organization that served on the board that I got to know personally, they were from all different facets of the community, whether they were business owners or residents or community activists. And the thing that everybody had in common is they really cared, and they really love, the great city of Salt Lake and the state of Utah. And they wanted to be part of the solution, not just turn a blind eye to the problems that we were encountering. I had dealt with the smash and grab, the harassment of my staff, but one day I had one of my staff call me, and we had a back entrance on 500 West, and she said, "I'm not sure what to do, but I can't open the door. There's a man in front of the door, and I don't know if he's passed out or if he's dead." And she said, "I'm really scared. What would you like me to do?" And I was about an hour away from being at work, and so I called the non-emergency downtown number. They had that at that time, and they had to come remove what was determined to be a dead body. What I didn't, foresee was the issues that we were having in 2015 and 16 were nothing compared to what was to come.